A message from the Archangel Michael, Prince of the heavenly hosts, defender of mankind, and holder of the divine scales.
Hear me, O child of dust and starlight. Heed the voice that once declared war in heaven, that shut the mouths of lions for the prophet, that stands guard over the nations. This is not a summons you ignore. This is not a scroll you cast aside. For millennia, your sacred texts have been a lantern in a vast and shadowed world. You have clung to them, drawn comfort from their familiar contours, and built faith upon their revealed truths. But know this: the library of the divine is vaster than any temple on earth. Its shelves spiral into eternity, and its books contain stories written not only in ink but in the very fabric of creation. Some tales are for all ages. Some are for a specific time. And some are held in reserve, until the hour of their telling is ripe.
That hour is now. I, Michael, who commune with the uncreated light, who execute the mandates of the Most High, am commanded to break a seal upon one such story. It has lain hidden, not out of deceit, but out of divine timing. A truth reserved for an age of confusion, an era of flickering faith, a generation that questions the very presence of the supernatural in its midst.
You seek signs, you long for wonders, you whisper into the silence, asking if heaven still sees, still fights, still cares for the struggles of one single, solitary soul amidst the billions that swarm upon your planet.
This story is your answer. It is a story that did not occur in the grand courts of Pharaoh or amidst the thunder of Sinai. It did not feature a king, a prophet, or a warrior. It is the story of the unseen war fought in the smallest of places, for the most precious of prizes. It is the story of a soul you have never known, in a village whose name has been erased by the wind. It is the story of Anna, the unremembered. This is not apocrypha. This is not legend. This is a newly revealed thread in the great tapestry of your salvation history. Read it, feel it, let its truth recalibrate your understanding of grace, struggle, and the relentless, pursuing love of God that commands even my legion to action. The command is given, the seal is broken, the story begins. The scroll of the unseen war, concerning Anna of Kedesh. Chapter 1, The Weight of Silence. The dust of Kedesh was the same as the dust of any other village in the rocky highlands of Naphtali. It was a fine, pale powder that settled on everything: the leaves of the stubborn olive trees, the rough-hewn stones of the houses, the shoulders of the people, and the soul of a woman named Anna. For 40 years, the silence had been her constant companion. Not a simple absence of sound, but a heavy, woolen blanket thrown over the world, muffling the laughter of children, the bleating of goats, even the fervent prayers at the village well. It was a silence that had begun in her womb, a hollow void where a mother's first anticipated cry of her child should have been. The midwife's sad, shaking head had been the first note in this lifelong symphony of quiet. Anna, wife of Hamin the stonecutter, was barren. In a time and place where a woman's worth was woven from the threads of lineage and legacy, Anna's tapestry was bare. Her hands, though skilled at weaving and grinding grain, were empty. Her home, though tidy, echoed with the children she could not give her devoted, but increasingly distant, husband. Hamin was a good man, kind in his way, but his eyes held a perpetual sorrow when they rested upon her, a quiet accusation that she had failed in her most sacred duty. Each morning, she would make the walk to the well, a journey that became a gauntlet of pitying glances and whispered blessings that felt like curses. "May the Lord open your womb, sister," the other women would say, their eyes full of a relief that it was her and not them. She would nod, mute, the weight of their words adding another layer to the dust on her soul. Her prayers had been passionate once, a torrent of tears and desperate pleas at the altar of the village high place. She had bargained, promised, begged. But the heavens were as silent as she was. Season turned into season, prayer turned into rote recitation, and hope curdled into a hard, small stone of resignation in her heart. God, it seemed, had passed over Kedesh, and he had certainly passed over Anna. She did not know that her silence was the battleground. She did not know that her perceived insignificance was the prize. She believed her life was a small, sad tale of no consequence. She could not have been more wrong. High above the dust of Kedesh, In the realm of shimmering air where light takes form and purpose, the war for her soul had already begun. Chapter 2. The Council of the Princes. The atmosphere of the divine court was not one of stone and marble, but of living light and resonant truth. Here, the geometric harmonies of creation pulsed with a music that would shatter mortal ears. And here, I, Michael, stood amidst my fellow princes. We were 7 who stood before the throne, regents of the celestial provinces of the earthly realm. There was Raphael, whose light was the green of healing and the deep blue of journeying. There was Gabriel, a blaze of gold and white, the trumpet of ultimate declarations. Uriel, with the fierce light of wisdom and judgment, Raguel, the harmonizer, Sariel, the guide of spirits, and Remiel, who stands at the precipice of visions. We had gathered for the quarterly reckoning, the presenting of the celestial ledgers that chronicled the state of the great war on earth. The enemy's strategies were ever shifting, a toxic miasma of deception, accusation, and temptation that seeped into the hearts of men. Gabriel spoke first, his voice a clear tone that structured the chaos of information. The royal lines are secure. The seed is preserved in Judah, though the house is riddled with frailty. The enemy concentrates his whispers there, hoping to corrupt the line before the appointed time. Raphael's light shimmered. The plagues of despair and sickness multiply in Assyria and Egypt. Their physicians turn to darker arts, and my healers are hard-pressed. The prayer veil is thin there, choked by fear. One by one, we reported. The war was vast, a global conflict of ideologies and spirits. Then came my turn. The military and political strongholds are under constant assault, I stated, the light of my sword reflecting the truths I spoke. Kings are puppeted by pride, armies moved by avarice. But the front lines are holding. The faithful remnants in Israel, though small, are a thorn in the side of the accuser. Their prayers, like the prayers of David, still hold power. A silence fell upon us, a silence different from the silence of Anna. This was a waiting silence, the silence of a court awaiting the final word from the throne. From the uncreated light, a thought was formed, not in words, but in pure, imparting knowledge that flooded our beings. The focus was to shift. The macro was secure for now. The enemy's new strategy was not the king, but the commoner. Not the throne, but the hearth. Not to break a nation in a day, but to erode faith, soul by solitary soul. If he could make the average man or woman believe they were unseen, unloved, and beyond the reach of grace, the house of humanity would collapse from within. A single name was impressed upon the consciousness of the 7 of us. A name unknown to history. A name written on a small, seemingly insignificant soul in a dusty village. Anna, wife of Hamin, of Kedesh. Then, a directive, clear and unmistakable, was given. It was not for Gabriel, the herald. It was not for Raphael, the healer. The directive was for me. Michael, prince of the heavenly host. Defender. Go. For this is not a mission of announcement, nor of healing. It is a mission of war. The soul of this woman is the hill upon which the next battle will be fought. You will engage the enemy. You will fortify the heart. You will break the silence. I bowed, my light flaring in acceptance and understanding. The others bowed with me. The strategy was set. The battle for the unremembered was begun. Chapter 3. The Whispering Poison. If Anna felt alone, it was because she was surrounded. Unseen to her, 2 spiritual entities were her constant shadows. The first was a Malak, a guardian angel assigned to her from birth. His form, had she the eyes to see, was one of gentle, steadfast light. His name was Lael, which means, belonging to God. His duty was a constant, quiet vigil, to deflect minor harms, to nurture the faintest flicker of a good thought, to whisper encouragement through the rustling of leaves or the warmth of the sun on her face. He was the reason she had not succumbed to utter despair, the divine nudge that kept her from the cliff's edge on her darkest nights. But his influence was gentle, a suggestion, for the Creator's great gift to humanity is free will. He could not force her to hope. The second entity was a different matter entirely. This was a Shadim, a lesser demon of the accuser's legions, a specialist in barrenness and isolation. Its name was Shaphash, a venomous spirit whose very presence amplified feelings of worthlessness and divine abandonment. Where Lael whispered hope, Shaphash hissed lies. As Anna drew water from the well, Shaphash coiled around the post, its form like black smoke. "They are laughing at you," it hissed, though the sound registered in her mind as her own thought. "See how Leah looks at you. She has 6 sons. 6. Your husband looks at her with envy. He wishes she were his wife. You are nothing but a dead branch on the tree of his life." Anna's shoulders slumped further. She hurried her task. Later, as she tried to pray, a feeble, half-hearted thing, Shaphash sat beside her, a coldness in the air. "Why do you bother?" the voice murmured, slick and persuasive. "The heavens are brass. Your prayers are dust. God has cursed you. He made you broken. You are an error in his creation, and he ignores his mistakes." The stone of resignation in her heart grew heavier. Lael, her guardian, stood behind her, his hands extended, pouring a gentle light upon her. He sent a memory into her mind, the kindness in Hamin's eyes when he first brought her to his home. He amplified the sound of a dove cooing, a symbol of promise. But Shaphash's lies were loud, and her own pain was a receptive soil for their bitter seeds. The demon's strategy was simple and brutal, to convince Anna that her silence was a verdict. That her barrenness was a punishment. That her existence was a footnote of failure in the grand story of God's people. If it could secure her voluntary surrender to despair, it would claim a victory far greater than the corruption of a king. A king's fall is spectacular, but the despair of a common woman is a quiet plague that can infect an entire community. Her hopelessness would become a virus, passed through her downcast eyes and weary sighs, teaching everyone she met that God was not good, that prayer was useless, that they, too, were alone. The battlefield was set, the forces were arrayed, and I, Michael, began my descent. Chapter 4. The Descent of the Prince. The journey from the high place of light to the dusty plain of Kedesh is not a matter of distance, but of resonance. To step into the realm of time and matter is to slow the infinite song of one's being into a single, devastating note. As I descended, the harmonies of heaven faded, replaced by the cacophony of earth, the roar of human fear, the clangor of strife, the whimpering of pain, and the deafening silence of prayers that felt unanswered. It is a descent that every angel feels as a profound burden, a weight of mourning for a creation that groans under the weight of its own brokenness. I did not come in my full glory. To appear to Anna as I am would have annihilated her. The mortal frame cannot contain the unveiled presence of a principality. Instead, I veiled my light, compressing it into a form that could be perceived without causing terror. I took the aspect of a traveler, tall, imposing, with the bearing of a warrior priest from a foreign land. My robes were simple but fine, the dust of a long journey upon them. My eyes, however, retained their nature. They saw not just the clay vessel of the woman, but the war that raged around her. I arrived at the outskirts of Kedesh at the hottest hour of the day. The village slept, gripped by the siesta's lethargy. The only movement was a lone figure sitting in the shade of a large carob tree, her head bowed, her hands idle in her lap. It was Anna. Lael, her guardian, sensed my approach first. His form, visible to me, straightened from its vigilant posture and bowed deeply in recognition and awe. The demon Shaphash, however, reacted like a serpent touched by a hot coal. It recoiled from her, its smoky form bristling with alarm and hatred. It recognized the resonance of my authority, the same authority that had cast its master from heaven. "You have no jurisdiction here," Shaphash shrieked in the spiritual tongue, a sound of scraping metal. "This one is mine. She is worthless. She is forgotten." I ignored it. The demon was a gnat, a symptom of the disease, not the disease itself. The battle was not first with it, but for the heart of the woman. I walked toward Anna. My footsteps made no sound on the dry earth, yet she felt a change in the air, a pressure, a sudden stillness that made the hairs on her arms stand up. She looked up. Her eyes were the color of dark honey, and in their depths, I saw the entire history of her sorrow. She saw a stranger, a man of formidable presence, and fear flickered in her gaze. She made to stand, to flee. "Do not be afraid, Anna," I said. My voice was calm, but it carried an authority that stilled her panic. It was a voice that spoke to the core of her being, bypassing years of defensive walls. She froze. How do you know my name? I know the names written in the palm of the hand that holds the universe, I said, moving closer but still keeping a respectful distance. I have come a long way to speak with you. She looked around, as if expecting this to be a trick. To speak with me, there is nothing to say. I am no one. And there it was. The lie, given voice. The stronghold I was sent to besiege. Chapter 5. The First Truth. You are incorrect, I said, my voice leaving no room for argument. The notion that you are no one is the first and greatest deception that has been sold to you. It is a commodity your enemy trades in, and you have purchased it with the currency of your pain. She stared at me, bewildered. My words were unlike any she had ever heard. They were not the platitudes of the village women. They were not the weary reassurances of her husband. They were declarations of fact, sharp and clear as a sword blade. What enemy? She whispered, her voice trembling. I have no enemies. I am not important enough to have enemies. I gestured to the space around her. You are surrounded by them. One seeks your life. The other guards it. The war for your soul is the only war that has ever truly mattered, for it is the war that is repeated in the heart of every man and woman ever born. Shapash, emboldened by its rage, lunged not at me, but at her, seeking to cloud her mind with fear. He is mad, a desert prophet filled with demons. Send him away. He will bring you only trouble. Asterisk. Lael moved swiftly, interposing his light between the demon's influence and Anna's mind, deflecting the worst of the psychic assault. Anna shivered, feeling the spiritual chill though she understood none of its source. I think you should go. Please. I did not move. Anna, wife of Hamin. How do you explain the persistence of your grief? The question startled her. I have no child. My womb is closed. It is a shame. A curse. A closed womb is a biological reality, I countered. A curse is a spiritual assignment. Which one do you truly carry? You have prayed for a child. But have you ever prayed against the curse? The concept was alien to her. Prayer was for asking, for begging. The idea of prayer as a weapon, as a defiance, had never occurred to her. God has not answered, she said, the familiar hopelessness returning to her voice. Are you certain the silence is from him? I asked. Or is it the static of another voice, so constant you have mistaken it for your own? Tell me, when you pray, what do you hear in the stillness afterward? She was silent for a long time, her eyes welling with tears. I hear, that I am not worthy. That I am forgotten. That my pain is my name. I took a step closer. The air crackled with the tension of the unseen war. Lael shone brighter, reinforcing my words. Shapash shrank back, hissing. Then hear this truth now, and let it shatter the silence, I said, allowing a fraction of my true power to resonate in my voice. The ground beneath our feet seemed to hum. You are seen. You are known. You are loved. Your name is not barren. Your name is not forgotten. Your name is Anna, and it is written on a scroll kept in the heart of the Most High. The prayers you thought were lost have been collected. Every tear you have shed has been stored in a vial of gold. They are not forgotten. They are waiting. Anna began to weep, deep, racking sobs that came from a place she had thought sealed shut. For the first time, the stone in her heart had a crack in it. The light was getting in. The first truth had been delivered. The siege of the stronghold had begun. Chapter 6. The Arsenal of Heaven. My words hung in the air, not as sound, but as substance. They were spiritual realities, and their impact on the unseen realm was immediate and violent. To Anna, it felt like a sudden, inexplicable warmth spreading through her chest, a sensation of lightness she had not known since she was a girl. This was the effect of Lael, her guardian, amplifying the truth I had spoken, weaving it into the very fabric of her being, making it a shield against the lies. To Shapash, however, my words were like bars of white-hot iron slamming down around it, constricting its influence. The demon screamed, a sound of pure fury that echoed only in the spiritual plane. The lie of her worthlessness was its primary weapon, and I had just blunted it. Lies. Delusions. It shrieked, thrashing against the new, fortified boundaries of its prison. She is dust. She will return to dust. Her story is nothing. I turned my attention fully to the creature for the first time. My veiled form could not contain the full ferocity of my gaze. Be silent. The command was not a request. It was a decree backed by the full authority of the throne. It was a force that struck the demon like a physical blow, compressing its form and temporarily severing its ability to project its thoughts into Anna's mind. The sudden cessation of its psychic whisper was, to Anna, like the sudden stopping of a constant, painful noise she had never realized was there. She took a deep, shuddering breath, as if breathing for the first time. The battle, however, was far from over. A demon of accusation like Shapash does not surrender its ground easily. Its entire existence is predicated on its assigned task. I had silenced it, but I had not ousted it. For that, a higher authority was needed, the authority of the woman herself. Anna, I said, my voice softer now. The enemy has built a fortress in your mind. He has used your pain as his bricks and your isolation as his mortar. I can surround that fortress. I can silence its archers. But I cannot breach its gates. That power was given to humanity alone. You must command it to leave. She looked at me, her face streaked with tears, her eyes wide with a mixture of terror and dawning hope. Command? How? I am just a woman. You are a daughter of Eve, I corrected. You bear the image of the Creator. You have been given dominion. That dominion was not just over the beasts of the field, but over the spiritual pests that seek to infest your garden. You must exercise it. You must speak. What must I say? The truth, I said. You must voice the truth that I have spoken to you. You must agree with heaven against the hell in your own mind. Your voice is the key that unlocks the divine arsenal. I gestured to Lael. The guardian angel stepped forward, and in his hands, light coalesced into the forms of weapons, a shield of faith, a helmet of hope, a sword that was the living word of God. These were not for me. They were for her. They were the tools of her warfare, made real in the spirit the moment she would choose to wield them through her declaration. You must renounce the lie, I instructed. You must break agreement with the voice of despair. You must command the spirit of abandonment and barrenness to leave you in the name of the God who sees you. Do you believe what I have told you? Do you believe you are seen and known? Anna looked down at her hands, then at the vast, empty sky, then back at me. The struggle within her was visible. A lifetime of conditioning fought against a newborn spark of faith. I want to believe, she whispered. Then speak, I urged. Let your want become your will. Let your will become your word. Heaven is waiting to back your command. She closed her eyes. A tear traced a clean path through the dust on her cheek. She drew another breath, this one deeper, more deliberate. And then, Anna, the unremembered, began to speak. Chapter 7. The sound of breaking silence. Her first words were a whisper, so faint they were almost carried away by the wind. But in the spirit realm, they were a clap of thunder. I am seen. Lael surged forward, placing the shield of faith before her. The shield glowed with an intense light. Shapash recoiled as if struck. No. Anna's voice grew stronger, fueled by a power not her own. I am known. Lael placed the helmet of hope upon her head. A radiant clarity seemed to settle over her thoughts, dispersing the fog of despair. The demon writhed, its form becoming less distinct, more shadowy. She is mine. Asterisk. Anna stood up. She opened her eyes, and they were no longer pools of sorrow, but blazing with a fierce, newfound conviction. She raised her face to the heavens, and her voice rang out across the empty field, clear and strong. I am loved. With that declaration, Lael placed the sword of the Spirit in her hand. It was a weapon of light, and though her physical hand held nothing, her spirit gripped it firmly. Now was the time. I nodded to her. Command it. She understood. She turned her gaze inward, to the dark fortress that had been built in her soul. She pointed a finger at the cowering, hateful spirit of Shapash, and she spoke with an authority that echoed the authority given to her at the foundation of the world. I renounce you, she cried, her voice trembling not with fear, but with power. I renounce the lie that I am forgotten. I renounce the curse of barrenness. I break every agreement I have made with despair. In the name of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God who sees me, I command you, spirit of abandonment, spirit of shame, leave me. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic for the demon. The name of the God of covenant is a weapon against which no demonic force can stand. It is not a magic word, it is the ultimate reality against which their shadowy existence has no defense. As Anna spoke the name, the divine authority invested in her as an image-bearer flowed through her command. A sound like shattering glass filled the spiritual realm. The fortress of lies collapsed into dust. Shapash let out a final, agonized shriek, a sound of ultimate failure and defiance, as it was ripped from its dwelling place of 40 years. It was not destroyed. Such entities can only be ultimately dealt with by the appointed end of things, but it was utterly vanquished from her, its assignment broken, its influence severed. It fled, a wisp of black smoke scattered by a great wind, sent back to the darkness from whence it came, to report its failure to its master. The silence that followed was not the old, heavy silence of despair. It was a new silence. A clean silence. A holy silence, filled with the palpable, loving presence of God. Anna stood there, breathing heavily, tears streaming down her face. But they were tears of release, of joy, of awe. The weight was gone. The constant, whispering pressure in her mind had vanished. She felt light. She felt whole. She felt seen. She looked at me, her expression one of bewildered wonder. It's gone, she breathed. The noise in my soul. It's gone. I smiled for the first time. It was a smile that held the warmth of 1,000 suns. Yes, Anna, it is gone. The war for your heart is over. The victory is won. But the story was not yet finished. Chapter 8. The Fruit of Obedience. The aftermath of a spiritual victory must always be followed by natural obedience. Faith without works is indeed dead, for works are the natural fruit of a truly transformed heart. The demon was gone, but the patterns of a lifetime remained. The field of her soul had been cleared of the poisonous weed, but it now needed to be sown with new seed. The enemy is defeated, but he is a cunning strategist, I told her as we walked back toward the village, Lael walking beside her, his light now unopposed and shining brilliantly. He will seek to test your victory. He will send thoughts of doubt, hoping you will pick up the weapons of despair again. You must not. You must walk in the truth you have declared. How? She asked, her voice eager, hungry for guidance. By doing what you have not done for many years, I said. You must go to your husband. Not as a burden, but as a partner. You must speak to him not of your lack, but of your hope. You must give thanks to God not for what you hope to receive, but for the victory he has already given you. You must act as if the promise is already real. This is the great mystery of faith, calling things that are not as though they are, and through that declaration, participating in their creation.
And the child? She asked, the hope in her voice fragile, but real. The purpose of your trial was never the child, I explained. The purpose was your heart. The child was always the intended gift, but the gift could not be received by a heart that believed itself cursed. A vessel that believes it is unclean cannot hold clean water. Now, your vessel has been cleansed. It is ready to receive. But remember, the gift is from God. The obedience is from you. We had reached the path that led to her small house. I stopped. My part is done. Yours begins now. Anna looked at me, and for a moment, she saw beyond the veil of the traveler. She saw the shimmer of mighty wings, the gleam of a fiery sword, the ancient, timeless strength in my eyes. Her breath caught in her throat.
Who are you? She whispered, awestruck. I am Michael, servant of the Most High God, and I was sent to you because your prayer was heard, your tears were collected, and your name is known. Remember this day. Remember that you are never alone. And with that, I withdrew my veiled presence. To her eyes, it would have seemed as if the tall traveler simply stepped into the dazzling afternoon sun and was gone. But I did not leave Kadesh. I ascended back to the vantage point of the Spirit, to watch the fruit of the victory unfold.
Lael remained with her, now able to work unimpeded, his encouragements like clear bells in her spirit. Anna stood for a moment, absorbing it all. Then, she turned and walked toward her house with a new stride, a straight back, and a heart full of a peace that passed all understanding. Hamin was home, mending a net in the courtyard. He looked up as she entered, expecting the usual downcast eyes, the quiet sigh. Instead, Anna walked right up to him, took his work-roughened hands in hers, and looked him directly in the eyes. There was a light in her face he had not seen since their wedding day. "Husband," she said, her voice firm and clear. "God has visited me today. The shame is broken. Let us pray together and thank him for his goodness to us." Hamin was stunned into silence. Then, seeing the undeniable transformation in his wife, a hope he had buried long ago stirred in his own heart. He nodded, wordlessly, and together, for the first time in years, they knelt in their courtyard and prayed not from a place of need, but from a place of thanks. It was the prayer of victory, and heaven recorded it. Chapter 9. The unfolding promise. The months that followed were a testament to the reality of Anna's transformation. She was not miraculously pregnant the next day. The gift, as is often the case, unfolded in its own time, allowing her faith to be tested and strengthened. The old thoughts would sometimes come. Maybe it wasn't real. Maybe you imagined it. Maybe nothing has changed. These were the probing attacks of the enemy, testing the walls of her new fortress. But now, Anna was armed. Instead of succumbing, she would speak aloud. "I am seen. I am known. I am loved." I renounced that thought. And each time, the assault would cease. She was learning to rule her spiritual domain. She began to serve in the village not from a place of seeking validation, but from an overflow of joy. She became a woman others sought out for counsel, for her eyes held a peace they could not understand. The virus of despair had been replaced by a contagion of quiet hope. And then, one morning, the natural finally aligned with the spiritual. The promise manifested in the physical realm. Anna missed her cycle. Then came the swelling of her belly, the quickening of life within her. The joy in Hamin's house was a quiet, profound thing. It was a joy that knew the cost of the gift, a joy that was rooted not in the child itself, but in the faithfulness of the giver. In due time, Anna gave birth to a son. His cry was not the cry that ended her silence, it was the song that celebrated her victory. It was the sound that testified that the God of the macrocosm, the God of kings and nations, is also, intimately, the God of the microcosm, the God of the barren, the broken, and the forgotten. They named him Michael-ish, meaning, "Who is like God is with us." It was a name that forever reminded them of the divine intervention that had not only given them a son but had restored a soul.
The boy grew strong and wise, a blessing not only to his parents but to all of Kedesh. He became a keeper of the story, the one who would tell his children, and his children's children, of the day the Archangel came to his mother and the great unseen war that was fought and won for the heart of one seemingly insignificant woman.
Chapter 10. The echo in eternity. Years later, on the other side of the nation, in the turbulent court of a king who was losing his way, the prophet Isaiah sought the word of the Lord. The nation was under threat. Fear was rampant. The people felt forgotten by God, their prayers bouncing off a brass heaven. Isaiah cried out for a sign, for a word of hope, and the word came, thundering into his spirit with the force of a divine decree.
"Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel." Isaiah 7:14. It was a prophecy that would echo through the centuries, a mystery that would find its ultimate fulfillment in a young woman in Nazareth. But all prophecy has layers, rings of meaning that ripple out from the center of God's heart.
The word, virgin, in the Hebrew is alma. It can mean a young woman of marriageable age, often a virgin, but its root meaning is more profound. It comes from a root word that means, to be concealed, hidden, unknown. The sign God promised was not just about biological virginity. It was about the God who sees the unseen. It was about the Holy One breaking into the world through the most hidden, forgotten, and unexpected of places.
The story of Anna was a precursor, a living parable played out on a small stage to illustrate an eternal truth. God's modus operandi is to choose the barren women, the forgotten shepherds, the youngest sons, the unknown virgins from insignificant towns. He specializes in using the nobodies to shame the somebodies, to demonstrate that the power is his alone. The prophecy of Emmanuel, God with us, was first lived out in the dusty fields of Kedesh when the Prince of Heaven declared to a forgotten woman, "You are seen. You are known. You are loved. I am with you." The story of Anna is the story of Israel. It is the story of the church. It is your story. You who feel unseen in your office cubicle, you who feel unknown in your lonely apartment, you who feel unloved in your struggling marriage, you who feel barren in your dreams and calling, hear the word of the Lord through this newly revealed tale. You are the hill upon which the great war is being fought. Your heart is the prize. The enemy's strategy is to convince you that your struggle is a sign of God's abandonment. But I, Michael, who see the full scope of the battle, declare to you that it is the precise opposite. Your struggle is the proof that you are a threat. Your pain is the battlefield because your victory will be a trophy of grace that will echo in the halls of heaven for all eternity. The very fact that you are under attack is evidence that you hold a glory that the enemy fears.
The God who sent me to Anna sees you now. He knows your name. He has collected your tears. Your prayers are not lost. They are gathering weight and momentum in the heavens, waiting for the appointed time of their release. The command, therefore, on the authority of the captain of the hosts of heaven, I order you. Renounce the lie. Whatever voice tells you that you are too broken, too old, too young, too sinful, too insignificant, recognize it for what it is. The poisonous whisper of a defeated foe. Declare the truth. Speak it aloud. Even if your voice trembles. Say, I am seen by God. I am known by God. I am loved by God. My story is not over. Command the enemy to flee. In the name of Jesus Christ, the ultimate authority to whom every knee must bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth. Command the spirit of despair, shame, and abandonment to leave your presence. ACT on your faith. Thank God for the victory before you see it. Choose joy in the midst of pain. Serve others from your overflow. Clean your vessel through obedience, making it ready to receive the promise. The story of Anna was hidden for a time, but is now revealed for your encouragement. Let it be written on your heart. Let it recalibrate your understanding of your place in this great, cosmic war. You are not a footnote. You are not forgotten. You are the reason heaven mobilizes. You are the beloved of God. Now, rise up. Take your place. The battle is won. Live like it. Amen.